almost 3,000 children. Add to that around 800 children are missing because they have been trapped under the rubble of their bombed houses and cannot be retrieved. So we are getting somewhere between 3,800 and 4,000 killed children. Where else in the world is a national army, a state army like the Israeli army, allowed to fight a war and to kill 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 children in 2 weeks, with nobody of the big powers trying to stop them? Among the killed are 1,709 women. Women and children constitute 70% of the wounded and killed in Gaza now. 70% are women and children, civilians. The total number of killed in Gaza now, up till this morning, was 7,028 killed. They are gone. They are martyrs. They are dead. They are lost to their families. But there are many, many more wounded. The total number of war wounded as of this morning was 18,482, almost 18,500 war wounded. Not all of them seriously wounded. Maybe 1/3 can have an outpatient visit to the hospital and be patched up and sent home, but there is no home to go to. But 2/3 of them will probably have injuries that will need hospital treatment. 40% of the hospital capacity is gone in Gaza due to attacks and damage on the hospitals, due to lack of fuel or supplies to run the hospital. And many of the primary healthcare clinics, up to 35, are closed. So where are they going to amend these 18,482 wounded? Among them, mostly children. And let me end by saying the situation in the hospitals in Gaza is dreadful, because not only are they completely filled with wounded who needs care, comforting, treatment, surgery, fluids, water to drink, food to eat, washing, cleanliness, which is an enormous task for any well-functioning system. I hope there are some colleagues of mine in South Africa listening to this and imagining what would one of your cities do if you had suddenly had 18,500 war wounded. It's beyond comprehension. In addition to this large number of wounded and their families, of course, many of them are children, so they will all have their families with them. The hospitals in Gaza have now become refuge, shelter for all of those homeless, those 1.5 million who are now wandering around without a home, without a house, either because it's bombed or because they have left it because of the threats of bombing. Tens of thousands of these homeless have seeken shelter in Mustashfa al-Quds, in the Jerusalem hospital in Gaza City, run by the Red Crescent, in Mustashfa al-Shifa, the big trauma center, Shifa Hospital, Shifa Medical Complex, central Gaza City, in Mustashfa al-Aqsa in the south, in the Gaza European Hospital in the south, and the other still operating hospitals. So every corridor, every waiting room, every emergency room is filled with these three groups: the wounded, the family of the wounded, and the refugees seeking safety and shelter. But unfortunately, there is no safe place in Gaza today. And I am shivering when I'm thinking about what will be the next moves by the occupiers.
Yes. Now, Dr. Gilbert, we know the people of Palestine, and you know them better than I do, particularly those in Gaza, where they've been known for their resilience to be able to withstand. And as you mentioned, extreme in every way, in every sense, in terms of the numbers, the statistics that you quoted, the carnage, the brutality, the genocide that's unfolding, all of it. And the question is, can a nation withstand this brutality and the resilience of the Palestinians at this point in time of major concern that, well, how much longer can they actually hold out?
I think you, as South Africans, have a better platform and a better historical background to answer that question, because you have been a lighthouse to the colonized and oppressed people of the world when it comes to resisting colonialism and resisting the politics of elimination, which we are seeing unfolding in Gaza now. You know what it took for you through the centuries, through the long march towards a freedom from colonialism and apartheid. And you never yielded. You just had to be patient. And your leaders, like Nelson Mandela, never gave up. You were called the terrorists. I believe Nelson Mandela was on the formal terrorist list of the United States State Department until he was 80. So my answer to your question is that the Palestinian people, they have been under occupation for 70 years now, a little bit depending on how you count it. They have been in the diaspora for 70 years. They have been during an increasing colonizing and brutal apartheid regime, getting worse every day. And they have not given up. They have not given up. And I think they will not give up. And the sumud of the Palestinian people, sumud is an Arab word. I've been taught the word by my Palestinian friends. It means steadfastness. And I have understood that sumud is a virtue in the Palestinian psyche, in the Palestinian culture. And I think to answer your question, I will quote some of my medical students. I've been teaching at medical schools in Gaza for 15 years at Al-Azhar University. There are two big universities in Gaza, Al-Azhar and Islamic University, each with around 30,000 students. Brilliant teaching institutions. Medical schools are good. We try to support them with going there as guest professors. And they say, we have no other goal than to live as free people. We will not be enslaved by anybody. And like one of the young medical students, now graduated, told me, I'm not Hamas, I'm not Jihad, but I support the resistance because they are the only ones defending us. And I will be defended, and I will defend myself and my family, because I don't see slavery as a solution in my life. I don't want to surrender. I don't want to give away my country. I don't want Israel to expand, grab, steal, and colonize my beloved Palestine. This is what I hear from moderate academics to the janitor in the guest house, to the street vendor, to the young guys, the young children playing in the street. So I think that trying to break the backbone of a people under colonizing rule, under brutal oppression, under occupation, it will not succeed. You will only produce new generations of resisting, hardcore, even more determined generation than what you had before. So there is no end to this before we try to understand and solve the root cause. Look, I'm a medical doctor. I was trained not to treat symptoms, not to give painkiller if a patient has pain in the belly or pain in the chest. Then I need to find out what is the root cause of that pain and try to treat that. It could be a blood clot, it could be an infection, it could be cancer, it could be, something that needs immediate treatment. The root cause, in my opinion, and I'm not alone I'm not the only one thinking that the root cause is what it is in Palestine. It is the occupation. I always end my lectures by saying, this is not a difficult conflict. This is a difficult occupation. And it is illegal according to international law. You're not allowed to occupy another people. And the occupied people has the right to resist the occupiers, also with weapon. Of course, within the framework of the Geneva Convention protecting civilians. The Palestinians are just as much in their right to resist occupation with the means they see fit as the Ukrainian people are in their right to fight the Russian occupation with arms, always within the framework of humanitarian law and the Geneva Convention. I don't support any terror against any civilians, be it from the US Army, from the Ukrainian Army, from the Russian Army, from the Israeli Army, or from the Palestinian resistance. I don't. We need to protect children, women, churches, hospitals, mosques, ambulances, doctors, nurses, paramedics, water pipelines, sewage systems. They shall be protected because the most valuable thing we have is humankind. The problem is that Israel has, for the last 70 years, been violating again and again and again and again international law. When it comes to warfare, when it comes to moving your own population into occupied land and colonize the occupied land, when it comes to the even more, ever more brutal development of an apartheid system, which is now recognized by Amnesty International, B'Tselem, Human Rights Watch. And apartheid is, as you know better than anybody, it's forbidden, it's prohibited in international law and in the UN system. But the problem is that the State of Israel has been developing this colonial system and oppression over the Palestinian people in a way that makes life totally unbearable. And I think that their ultimate goal is actually to get rid of the Palestinian people and to occupy the rest of Palestine, West Bank and Gaza, to have the Eretz Israel, the land of Israel, stretching all over these territories.